In this segment, we're going to take a look at the interior of the 56 Golden Hawk. And we'll start with the ashtrays. There were 3 of them on this car, 1 on each door. The 2 front ones have a little knob on them, and the one in the rear, which is on the center armrest, is a little bit different in that it has a little indented area here. But the 3 ashtrays on the 56 Golden Hawk and their locations. The Daytona weave carpet has a sewn border around the edges and a colored vinyl heel pad. The carpet is mounted on top of the sill plate. It doesn't go underneath, and there are screws holding it down from the front all the way to the rear. The scuff plate on the 1956 Golden Hawk is made of aluminum and has the word Studebaker stamped on it, and has a bunch of little circles that go the entire length of the plate. And the plate actually goes underneath the carpeting. Carpet goes on top. And then the screws would go through the carpeting and the scuff plate to hold it in place. On cars equipped with the twin Ultramatic transmission, there is a hole cut in both the carpet and the floor to allow access to the transmission dipstick. There is an access cover over this hole held on by 2 screws. The color of this access hole cover is either black, dark blue, dark green, or rose mist. We'll take a look at the dash liner, which is the area above the carpeting here, below the dashboard. The color of the dash liner is either charcoal black, dark blue, dark green, or dark rose mist. The 7 fasteners are the same color as the dash liner. The right and left kick panels attached to a little channel slide behind this just by the door and the windlace. And the colors are either charcoal black, dark blue, dark green, dark rose mist, olive green, dark, romany red, gold, or tangerine. The gear shift lever and the knob are painted black, as is the steering column. The headliner is made of a hardboard material with small holes which run in a diagonal direction. There are 4 sections held up by 3 plastic bows. The headliner, the bows, and the sunshield were white on all cars except those with the following color interiors. The headliner bows and sun visors were light rose mist on cars with a light and dark rose mist interior. They were light green on cars with a light and dark green interior, light blue on cars with a light and dark blue interior, and charcoal on cars with the charcoal and red interior. A silver mylar band runs above the side windows from front to back at the bottom of the headliner. The chrome-plated dome light was located at the rear end of the second headliner panel on the driver's side. It had a black on and off button, and it would also be controlled by the button on the door jamb. The dashboard on the 56 Golden Hawk was black, made of fiberglass. It consisted of a padding on the top, which was also black. A clock by Borg Instruments was placed just to the left of the glove box door and to the right of the radio. The radio was a Delco radio, and they had either the push button option or the manual tune radio without the buttons. There were two radio knobs on each side. The one on the back side was all chrome, and it would control the tone from bass to treble. The black knob with the silver insert was the power on and off and the volume control. Over on the right side, the black knob controlled which location on the dial the radio was set to. The knob in the back would be locked in place if the car did not have a rear seat speaker. If it had a rear seat speaker, it had three positions to control either the front, the rear, or both speakers. Moving to the left, the cigar lighter was immediately to the left of the radio. And then the Stewart-Warner gauges consisted of the fuel gauge and the oil pressure gauge, then the tachometer, the vacuum gauge, the 160 mile an hour speedometer. On the top would be the water temperature, and down below the amp gauge. And then to the left of that was the ignition switch. Let's compare the vacuum gauge on the 56 Golden Hawk with the gauge used on the 57 and 58 Golden Hawks with the supercharger. The 56 measured vacuum only, while the 57 and 58 gauge measured both vacuum and pressure. You can see a slight difference in the dial itself on the two gauges. I want to take a little closer look at the ignition bezel that's in the 56 Golden Hawk. I have one here that's out of the car. Mostly I wanted to point out, you can see that pretty well, I think, the word start is stamped into the lower portion of the bezel on the inside. There are a lot of bezels like this without the word start in it, but the 56 Golden Hawk had that start on there. And the way this went in, it was like a light socket. Would slide over the ignition switch, lock into that little knob, and click in place. And of course, to complicate things, there was a big spring here that held this out so that it wouldn't come loose. So when it was done, it looked like this, with the word start showing up. The toggle switches are chrome with a black knob with a little white tip. The switches consisted of the lights, the instrument lights, the wiper. On the other side of the steering column, we have the defroster, the heat control, which was not a toggle, and the air. All the toggle switches were simply a two-position switch, and depending on what they operated, in the case of the lights, up would turn on the headlights, down would turn on the parking lights, and on the instrument lights, up would be brighter and down would be dimmer. There was no rheostat, so you had just the two choices. On the wiper was the same thing, high speed or a low speed. The defroster, high and low, and the air was also high and low. The air controlled the motor underneath the front fender, which had a big hose that was connected to the climatizer that was located under the seat. And that is how the passenger compartment was heated. And try to show you that climatizer. The heater control simply slid from right to left, left being on, and all the way to the right was off. And that controlled a little thermostatic valve that was located underneath the dash. If I can make it work here, you can watch it operate. I'm moving the lever on the dash to the left and now back over to the right. We can take a little look at the motor that controls the air for the climatizer. It's up here under the fender on the passenger side, right up here. It connects to this large hose that worms its way down, goes between the frame and the transmission, and connects to the climatizer under the front seat that I just showed you a moment ago. So when you want to get heat in the wintertime, you have to open this vent door on the passenger side front fender, and you do that through a control under the dash here. Just little lever right here. Push that over, that opens the vent door. Then you want to make sure that this inner door is closed. And then you simply go over to where the controls are. You slide the heater control or the thermostat, which I showed you earlier, to whatever desired temperature you think you'll want. And then you can turn on the air motor. This would be the low speed, and up would be the high speed. The two-position defroster switch is connected to a motor that is located under the dashboard right here. So that runs separately from the heater. And under the hood, that defroster motor is positioned behind the engine on the firewall, just toward the passenger side of the center. The rear package shelf cover is plain and should be one of the following colors: black, dark blue, dark green, dark rose mist, dark olive green, romany red, gold, or tangerine. The four fasteners should be the same color as the cover. The package shelf color would be the same color as the upholstery that's right behind the vent window, above the silver mylar strip and below the headliner. The optional seat belts were mounted on the door. There was a bracket at the front of the door to hold the front end of the belt. It ran along the entire door and then mounted on the door jamb at the rear. A set of rear passenger seat belts was also available. The colors available for the seat belts were gray, green, red, blue, brown, or black. The other half of the seat belt mounted to a cable that was attached to the floor and went from one side to the other where the other seat belt was attached for the passenger side. The rest of the seat belt came to the front and had kind of an airline style clasp and had this SP Studebaker Packard seat belt decal. The unusual result of all this was that once the seatbelt was fastened, you couldn't open the door. The vinyl side panels feature built-in armrests and a brick pattern silver mylar insert between the two moldings. The upper portion of the side panel has 2-inch dielectric seams which run downward and forward. The lower portion has 3/4 inch horizontal dielectric seams. There are 4 window cranks, one for each door window and one for each rear quarter window. They are chrome plated with a black knob and a chrome center. The door handles are chrome plated. I'm not sure exactly how they were located, but since the opening is this way, chances are pretty good that this was more than likely the correct mounting position. The steering wheel is white with a 17-inch diameter. There are 2 chrome rings which encircle the rim on each side above the horizontal bar. One is about a ½ inch above the horizontal bar, and the second is located about 4½ inches beyond the first. The area between the 2 chrome rings is ribbed. The remainder of the steering wheel is smooth. The part number 1540647 is on the back side of the vertical spoke about 1 inch below the center hub. There was a similar wheel available for sedans and station wagons with an 18-inch diameter. This wheel can be identified by the part number 1540635. It would be on the reverse of the vertical spoke, just like the 17-inch wheel. The number 18 is also stamped on the front side of the same spoke between the side rails near the center hub. This wheel looks exactly the same as the correct Golden Hawk 17-inch wheel, except that it is 1 inch larger in diameter. The horn ring is chrome and is a half circle with a vertical spoke on the lower half of the wheel. The horn button is gold with a Studebaker crest similar to the grill emblem in the center. The shift quadrant on cars equipped with the Packard twin Ultramatic transmission has the letters P, N, D, L, and R in that order. There are 2 forward driving ranges indicated by a triangle on each side of the letter D on the selector quadrant. Here's a good look at what I'm talking about. You can see the diamond, one to the left of the D and one to the right of the D. The left-hand triangle position and drive range is provided for all normal forward driving. It reduces engine speed and provides smoother starting from a complete stop. This position normally is used when starting on ice or in snow when gradual rear wheel traction is desired. The right-hand triangle position and drive range is provided for faster acceleration and is very useful when driving in traffic. This position normally is used when quick starts are desired. When driving in either range at a car speed of less than 60 miles per hour, the passing gear can be engaged by pressing the accelerator pedal firmly down against the floor. 1956 Golden Hawks, which came equipped with the Borg-Warner T85 manual 3-speed transmission, also included overdrive. The overdrive handle was located just below the dashboard, just below the instrument light switches. The letters O and D were stamped into the top of the handle. To completely disengage the overdrive, you would simply have the handle out as it is in this position now. And to make the overdrive operational, you would just push the handle all the way in. The windshield garnish moldings were changed from stainless steel to painted sometime late in the model run. This consists of 4 pieces, 2 on the side, which run all the way along the top to the mirror, 1 on each side, and then 1 long piece that ran along the bottom of the windshield, and the final piece was the mirror bracket. The rear window garnish molding also consisted of 4 pieces. There were 2 connectors, one in the center at the bottom and another in the center at the top. These were identical and interchangeable. Then there was a left side that went from the connector all the way around and back to the connector at the bottom. And then the 4th piece would have been on the opposite side. So late in the production year, these were painted black. instead of stainless. I have some photos of the interiors of 56 Golden Hawks that I've brought up on my computer monitor. This one is an all vinyl interior, and you can see the dielectric seams run from the front to the back on the seat bottom, and they run from the top on down to the bottom on the seat back. The entire surrounding area, the lighter color in this case, does not have any dielectric seams. The seat bottom, the insert, runs all the way from the edge panel to the opposite edge. We can get a little better view of this looking at the rear seat. You can see the dielectric seams again. And this area here in particular I want to point out, and over here, as well as this area in front of the seat inserts, are all flat. Now let's look at a vinyl interior with the cloth insert. The dielectric seam in this case is above the insert area, and again on the seat back it runs from top to bottom. Where on the all vinyl interior this portion was flat and the dielectric seams were on the insert. We can get a little better look at this looking at the back seat. The cloth inserts here. On the seat bottom, the dielectric seams are directly in front of the cloth inserts. Run from the rear toward the front. And on the seat back, they're above the cloth insert, run from top to bottom. This is just the opposite of what was on the all vinyl interior. You can see the dielectric seams here run all the way across the top of the front seat. There is silver piping that separates the side border with the center portion of the seats. You can see it runs right here between the two panels, and on the seat bottom the same thing. It then runs to the corner and then down across the front edge of the seat just below the edge. There's no piping here between the insert and the front panel, and then again on the side it starts again. You can see a little better view of that here on this photo, running up between the cloth insert and the side panel, and then where the dielectric seams are, and it goes around to the back side. Here you can see how the dielectric seams come over the top of the front seat back, and they meet at a panel just below the top of the seat. That panel is flat, and it's the same color as the door panel. It has the dielectric seams at the bottom that match the same seams that are on the bottom of the door.